Hey everyone, and welcome to Milo Game Reviews, where we review games both new and old on all platforms. My name is Milo, and if you like the content that I make, then please subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you never miss a review when it comes out. Today's game is A Way Out, a small game that focuses heavily on co-op gameplay and that feels very indie despite being published by EA. At the steering wheel of this interesting project was Joseph Fares, originally a film director and also responsible for the lovely game Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. I have played Brothers, and though the onset of that game was a single person controlling two characters at once, I actually played that differently and instead played it together with my girlfriend at the time, where each of us controlled one character with a stick on a single controller. The game was very short, maybe 2 to 3 hours, but told an interesting story without any voice acting or deliberate cutscenes. Therefore, I knew that hopefully with A Way Out, the focus would rely heavily on the story, since Joseph had proven that he was capable of delivering that. He was also famous for his bombastic promises and enthusiasm, which by some was seen as arrogance on how he was creating a game unlike any other. And despite some unique mechanics, I do have to say that A Way Out is not a super original game when it comes to its gameplay, since we have seen a lot of similar game mechanics in the past. Nevertheless, I thoroughly enjoyed myself with the game despite some flaws here and there. The game tells the story of Leo and Vincent, two prisoners who plan to escape their prison and who both are pursuing a bad guy named Harvey. Back when the game was released, many people believed this to be a game that mostly focused on prison escape, but I would say that maybe a third is only focused on just the prison scenarios, something that I would have loved to see more of since there are so few prison games that provide the experience in 3D. The unique selling point of A Way Out is that it is a two-player co-op game that you have to play together. It is impossible to complete just by your own, and therefore, you need a friend for either split screen and some good old couch co-op fun, or online. Now the real cool thing here is that for online co-op, only one person needs to own the game. This meant that I bought the game and the second player I played with needed to only download the game for free, but was limited to only play with me, meaning he could not just start a game on his own and play with other friends. And this was not just limited to one of my friends, but pretty much all. I showcased it to 3 other friends, and the ease at which this worked was lovely and very unlike EA, but I do have to give props where props deserve. So the pricing point was already a good start. What was also very unique was that the entire game is played in split screen, even if you play online. So you always will see the actions of both characters on the same screen, which is often used to good effect as you split up. Many games that offer a so-called co-op experience, especially shooters, simply don't provide such a unique experience since you are just fighting the same battles as you would in single player, but with a few more friends at your side. Now that doesn't mean it's not fun, but games like Resident Evil 5 have you sometimes split up, giving each player a different task to complete, which keeps it fresh. A Way Out does this a lot, and though it was a bit overwhelming first, with so many different characters talking through each other in the beginning, we soon found our bearing. Quickly after your characters have met and decided to plan their escape, you get set in different scenarios, of which many resemble scenes from the Shawshank Redemption, including the towering of the roof and making a lot of noise at the same time the thunder strikes. In the beginning, tasks usually involve one of the players distracting the guards, while the other sneaks around and gets a certain item. Similar style scenarios are often repeated so that both players can experience the same role. This is for example also showed when both players need to remove their cell toilets with a screwdriver. While the one who is busy removing the screws needs to follow certain button prompts or QuickTime events, the other is on the lookout for patrolling guards. Once the toilet is successfully removed, the screwdriver is passed along, and now the roles are switched. It's very effective and can definitely create some tense and cool moments that indeed feel unique. There's a metal detector and a guard, so getting it through there will get you caught. The game actually offers multiple solutions here, as it often does so too later in the game, though it usually comes down to only 2 ways of doing things. With the metal detector, the one player who is not carrying the object can go through and then disable the metal detector by messing with the wires. The one holding the object can then walk through undetected. The other option is to find a small hatch near the floor that can be removed. By doing this, one of the players can go through to the other side, and the metal object can be passed through the hatch without ever getting near the metal detector. Scenarios like these are a true joy to play, as they stimulate conversation and teamwork with your partner on different ideas on what to do. The game is also good in offering very varied objectives and different types of gameplay. Where the beginning scenarios are stealth-like, it gets mixed with puzzle and object searching, then followed by a quick-time event and then another stealth section, but instead of avoiding patrols, you are avoiding spotlights or need to stay hidden in the tall grass. Shortly after you make your escape, a new mechanic also gets introduced, and that is slightly branching paths. Maybe about 4 or 5 times in the game, you get to choose on how to approach a certain scenario. Now this is not like the one I described earlier, where you have 2 free options to complete something, but you actually need to manually select on what you do. The earliest example of this is when you need to cross a bridge that is full of police. You can either go under the bridge, where you need to sneak and avoid a helicopter and its spotlight, or enter one of the police vehicles and slowly drive away without the others noticing it. The paths soon come together to follow the story again, but for a few minutes the options will offer unique gameplay, dialogue, and even locations, so that is also greatly appreciated. One of the funniest ones is when Leo and Vincent jump out of an airplane and Leo's parachute breaks, meaning that the other player needs to catch him mid-air. So up until now, I've had nothing but praise for the game, and again, I really enjoyed playing it. But once you get out of the prison, a few flaws do start to show themselves, and some of the unique gameplay designs make way for more traditional ones that we've already seen. The story actually continues for a long while after you've escaped prison, as you find clues on Harvey's whereabouts, etc. Part of this is meeting the family of the 2 convicts, and unfortunately, the game really wants you to care about these characters, but it just does not deliver. Drama is presented in Leo's son feeling abandoned and him having to deal with a bad father figure, and Vincent who has relation problems with his wife who's about to have a baby. Again, the game tries to pretend like it's a very dramatic situation, but you as a player simply lack a bond with these characters to really care. Since by that time you have played with Vincent and Leo for about 2 hours, the bond with those 2 characters is there, but it did not have that same bond with any of the side characters. It's the same deal with The Evil Within 2, where in the first 5 minutes it becomes apparent that the main character's daughter has died and the game makes that a very big deal. Of course, it's a very tragic thing to lose your child, but as a player, I have no idea who this kid is, and so there's no sense of loss or connection to what has happened. Though the game still offers unique gameplay scenarios like robbing a gas station and giving you the option to either do it quietly or loud, or spearfishing, while one of the players leads the fish towards the other to catch them, more familiar types get presented. There are multiple chase scenes on vehicles that we have seen done before in multiplayer, where one of the player drives and the other shoots. Near the end of the game, there's also some gun action, and it does not feel all that well done. There's also a weird transition to include a lot of minigames from that point on, of which some really lean towards the absolute absurd. Now don't get me wrong, many of these minigames put a smile on my face and I like them, but they felt so out of place. Examples of these are horseshoe throwing, baseball, a game similar to Pong, arm wrestling, which was absolutely hilarious, doing wheelies on a wheelchair, or 4 in a row. It felt a bit gimmicky, as if the creators were looking to put quirky things into different scenarios. But despite the story being a bit weak with its characters and gameplay deviating a bit from originality, I still had a great time playing, as the pacing is pretty good. You are never doing the same thing too long. Even the shooting part only lasts about 20 minutes or so. In the end of the game, there's also a major twist that, though I did not see it coming, what came afterward I immediately did see coming, as that too had been done before in video games. In the end, it basically turns out that Vincent was undercover and betrays Leo's trust. The 2 friends are now put against each other, and a frantic chase follows that peaks at a shootout between the 2 players with only 1 survivor in the end. Again, this has been done before. There was a Splinter Cell that offered a small co-op campaign, and at the end, the players were tasked with killing each other. So again, it's a nice twist, but the execution is not that unique as one might think. It's also not the case that you can choose a different way out, like escape together. In the end, one of you dies and one of you lives. The ending itself is quite good though, and I even felt some emotion for the ending we got. I played as the character Vincent, and I stood victorious as the last man standing. As Leo sat there dying, the game prompted both of us to do one final key prompt before the screen of Leo's player faded to black, accompanied by sad music. Vincent ends up with his wife and daughter again as Leo's family mourns their husband and dad. It's a bittersweet ending that I liked a lot, actually a lot more than Leo's ending. In the end, A Way Out is a very fun and cool game that creates some very memorable moments. But it's not the most unique or a game like no other, like first was announced. We characters, accompanied by some fairly blasé sections like the car chases, the shooting, etc., make it to where the game does not achieve a gold standard, but it still gets a well-deserved 8.2 since the game is fun, especially engaging during the prison sections, and puts the effort in creating co-op type gameplay where you as a player get each a different task appointed to them. I can definitely tell you that I am a fan of this creator's work, and will also definitely check out his next title as well. A Way Out sold incredibly well, so I do hope to see another go at this film director's vision.